conditions, but it works. Okay. So I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. I think we have a lot more space than last time, so I'm glad that everyone can fit into the room. If that's a little dark, let me know and we can turn the lights back on. But I'm Erin Moraz, the Director of Community Relations and Communications for the Regional Express Rail project. I've met many of you before, but if you would like to chat afterwards, please come see me and I'm happy to provide my details and speak with anyone who has concerns. Tonight we're going to have a short presentation. We're going to go through some of the results of the environmental assessment. That will be provided by our environmental assessment team, and the technical consultant who did the noise and vibration studies will also be available. We'll try to get through that, and also the community had asked for some additional renderings to show views from residential houses and apartments. So we're going to go through some of that work that we've also put together so people have a better sense of what that impact would be. And then we're going to have a Q&A, and I promise that we will get to everyone's questions, and we will stay and work through the crowd so that everyone has an opportunity. There's a mic, and Gina on the side is going to pass that mic around so that you have a chance to be heard. I'd just like to take a second to introduce the team who's with me. So Nick Sebastien, many of you may have met, but he's the director and lead engineer for the Barrie corridor. He's in charge of all the building that's going to happen on the corridor. We have Renee, who is the manager of environmental assessments, Renee Pettigrew, and she will be providing part of the presentation. Beth Kapusta, you may have met, but Beth is our design excellence lead, and she is behind the lovely work that has been done to date on the overpass. And with her is John Potter, who has also been deeply involved in that work, and Margaret, sitting on the bench in the front. So any of us are here to answer your questions. Gina is on the side, Manuel is at the back, so please find us if we don't get to your question during tonight's presentation. With that, I will hand it over.
Thanks, Erin. As Erin said, I'm the manager of environmental programs and assessments within Metrolinx. I am responsible for the environmental project report that's being conducted under the TCAP process, as well as all the supporting studies that go with this. So within the environmental assessment, we have, within the natural environment, we have soil. Sorry. We looked at the natural environment that included terrestrial, aquatic, soil and groundwater conditions. We looked at the cultural environment that looked at the heritage and archaeology aspects of the project. The built environment that has the training, the traffic, in the community, as well as the utility impacts. And finally, the social environment that has the land use. We looked at the existing land uses, the future plan development within your neighborhood, the community features and assets that exist, noise and vibration, which I understand is a key concern, as well as air quality, and then the visual impact of this structure within the community. I have here tonight Sam Calendrum. He is our noise and vibration technical expert. He is going to start off the next set of slides to go through the noise and vibration assessment methodology we did, as well as the impact. So I'll turn it over to Sam.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Calendrum, J.E. Coulter Associates, and as Renee said, we completed the noise and vibration impact assessment for the Davenport Overpass project. So the assessment uses the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change approved methods and guidelines. What this essentially does is it evaluates the project's impacts by comparing the sound levels that would be present with the project in place, that is 180 electric trains operating on an overpass, to the sound levels that would be present if the project were not built, that is 36 diesel trains operating at grade. Now, we know that a lot of the residents are also concerned about the changes from today's sound levels to the future sound levels, so we'll also be looking at the impact of increasing it beyond 14 trains from today. For transportation noise, the comparison is based on the daytime and nighttime average sound levels. So the daytime is between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., and the nighttime is between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Where you expect increases of 5 dB or more from the project, you're required to evaluate noise mitigation options for technical, economic, and administrative feasibility. So this next slide shows you some typical environmental sound levels around various areas. What this means in terms of what you experience in the environment, in terms of average sound levels, is you can typically expect levels of around 60 to 65 dBA during the daytime along minor arterial roads like Wallace or Newmont, 65 to 70 dBA along major roads like Bloor Street or Eglinton or St. Clair, and 70 to 80 dBA on average around major highways and expressways. In terms of the increase in the environmental noise, a 1 to less than 3 dB increase is usually difficult to notice by most people, and is generally considered an insignificant change in the sound levels. A 3 to less than 5 dB change is considered a noticeable change, but not significant. A 5 dB change to a less than 10 dB change in noise is considered significant, and that's generally where you're likely to get an increased community response to the noise. A 10 dB or more increase in noise is considered very significant, and it corresponds to approximately a doubling of the loudness. So how we perceive the sound, it corresponds to a doubling of the loudness of the sound. So in order to deal with some of the noise impacts associated with the project that is going to 180 electric trains on the corridor, we recommended 2.0 meter high acoustically absorptive noise barriers along the entire guideway and berm sections, even in areas where we hadn't predicted noise impacts. Why a 2 meter high noise barrier? Unlike diesel trains, for electric trains, all the noise sources are located close to the ground. That is, for electric trains, it's almost entirely wheel rail noise, which is very close to the tracks. For a diesel train, you're typically gotten about equal parts locomotive noise, which is about 4.5 meters in the air, and wheel rail noise as well. In addition, because the tracks are elevated relative to a lot of receptors, this 2 meter high barrier is quite effective at protecting the lower floors of many buildings. So, but that being said, there is still some benefit to diesel train noise with these shorter barriers, especially if you're located on the lower floors, like the second floor or the first floor buildings. These are just the recommendations. We'll be refining these recommendations during the detailed design phase when we've got more information on the specific electric vehicle that's been chosen.
Excuse me, how high did you say the diesel was?
So the diesel, sorry, hello? Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
How high did you say the noise from the diesel engine was?
So the diesel engine has a couple of components of noise. It's got the air intakes on the side, as well as the discharge noise that's on the top of the train.
Yeah.
So the average height's about 3 meters, but you do have some noise coming off the top, which is about a little bit more than 4.5 meters in the air.
So that has, okay, thank you.
Sorry.
What's the decibel of the diesel?
Yeah, I think we're going to wait until the end, or do we want to do questions and answers throughout?
Everyone will have a chance.
Yeah, I'll get to your questions for sure. Okay, so this slide shows the noise impacts with the recommended mitigation in place. These impacts are shown at a typical residence height of about 4.5 meters off the ground. There are much more detailed contours in the reports which have been posted online, which you can take a look at. Those contours are drawn based on a 1.3 kilometer by 2 kilometer grid, and more than 26,000 points of calculation went into each of those contours that are found online. And we evaluated several different options, several different elevations and nighttime and daytime scenarios. So there's a ton of information online for you to review. So as you can see, the increases in the daytime kind of range from about 4 dB increase when you're located farther away from the diamond to about 0 to 20 dB reduction when you're really close to the diamond. The reason is removing the diamond noise is quite beneficial. It can reduce the sound levels by around 10 dB locally, although the benefit of removing the diamond decreases as they move farther and farther away. Coupled with the barrier attenuation, you can expect reductions of about 20 dB. Even considering the increase of service up to 180 electric trains. So the next slide shows you the nighttime impacts. So the relative change in service volumes means that during the nighttime there's a slightly higher increase in noise. So you get 0 to 20 dB reduction when you're kind of closer to the diamond, or where the tracks are elevated relative to where you are. As you get kind of farther away and the tracks return to grade, there are residual impacts up to about 8 dB. So the noise ranges that we've recommended provide about up to 14 dB reduction from the guideway noise. At the upper floors of taller buildings that are located farther away from the diamond and its associated benefit because we're reducing the diamond noise, there will be residual impacts ranging up to 8 dB. This is because barriers aren't tall enough to protect the upper floors on some of these buildings. On the other hand, with electric trains, you don't have the diesel locomotive. So with the windows closed inside, the sound levels will be quite a bit lower with electric trains than with diesel trains. So if you're sitting inside and right now and you hear a diesel train going by, you almost always hear just the locomotive. With electric trains, there is no low frequency locomotive noise. It's all high frequency rail noise and ventilation noise from the electric locomotive. Windows and walls are much better able to attenuate the noise from this higher frequency than they are at the lower frequency that's common with diesel locomotives. So typically you can expect for a given equivalent sound level in diesel trains, sound levels of up to 5 dB lower inside from electric trains as compared to diesel trains. So the next part of the assessment is vibration. And so what is vibration? Vibration is essentially the oscillation or the movement of particles back and forth from a fixed position. And sound is essentially vibration that travels through air. In terms of how humans respond to noise, vibration is measured and reported in terms of root mean square velocity or velocity. Humans are typically able to detect levels as low as 0.1 millimeters per second, although it's more reliably detected at around 0.14 millimeters per second. The risk of building damage occurs at much higher levels than this, usually about 50 times the level that you need for human perception. So building damage is not often a concern from just typical railway vibration. So vibration impacts. Vibration impacts are defined as a 25% or a greater increase in the vibration levels. This project does not actually generate any significant vibration impacts. This is because the guideway, located on very stiff vertical piers, are very difficult to shape. So along the guideway level, along the guideway area, you'll actually experience a significant reduction in the vibration levels because of these stiff vertical piers. You can expect reductions of about a third in the vibration levels that are currently there, that are there now. For the burn section, so that is the approaches to the overpass that are on earth or soil, the project requires that an additional track be added, and this track is added to the west side, roughly, of where the existing tracks are. So doing so generally will increase the vibration level slightly. To the north section, the north burn section, this increase is insignificant because there's no receptors or residential receptors located near the corridor. So by the time you get far enough back to the nearest residential receptors, that increase, you won't see that increase in vibration levels. To the south, by moving the tracks 6 meters closer to, about 6 meters closer to the residences, you'll see an increase of about 14% in vibration levels. This does not trigger the need for mitigation. However, Metrolinx has committed to looking at the potential for vibration mitigation measures, both for the overpass as well as for the burn section. So what can we do for the overpass to reduce the vibration levels even further? You can install bridge bearing pads, at the supports of the columns to provide a significant or even greater reduction in the vibration levels. For the approaches, or the tie-on ballast approaches, you can use ballast mats, which have been shown to provide a noticeable reduction in the vibration levels as well. So those are just some of the options that we can do, like we can implement to reduce the vibration levels even further. And these will be explored further during the detailed design phase.
Air quality was also assessed as part of this project. The analysis looked at 3 scenarios. So your current 14 trains a day that happen at grade with the one track, the future conditions in the no-build environment, which would be the 36 trains running at one track in the middle, and then the future build conditions, which would be the 36 trains elevated on the overpass. The analysis was conducted using computer models to predict the vehicle emissions, the background emissions, and what's happening in the atmosphere in the neighborhood. The study looked at the local receptors, so we analyzed 100 sensitive receivers within the neighborhood. These also match the same ones that the noise results used. And we looked to see where the concentration of air contaminants were. These concentrations were then compared to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change's ambient air quality criteria, which is used to protect for human health effects. This conservative approach was used as part of our assessment. The results indicated that there was no significant air quality impacts caused by the project. The contaminants are within the acceptable criteria, with the exception of the particulate matter 2.5, benzene, and benzoate pyrene, which have high background concentrations throughout the GTA, in Toronto, and within the neighborhood. This is a result of the roads in the neighborhood, industry within the city, and industrial uses nearby. The project itself, so the addition of our overpass, will contribute less to 1% of the overall NWCC criteria. In terms of mitigation, dust management plan we put in place for construction activities. So we understand when we have construction vehicles through the neighborhood, we'll be managing the dust they're generating, how they're maintaining the wheels, and how they're cleaning. Electrification itself, when Metrolinx brings that into the corridor, will eliminate the air pollution emissions from the diesel trains along the corridor. This will result in improvement to the regional air quality by removing the cars from the road and into public transit by using the increased service in the neighborhood. We also looked at the natural environment. So the natural environment was assessed through, we had biologists and scientists out there doing site visits. We contacted the local conservation authorities, TRCA, as well as the Ministry of Natural Environment and Forestry. We identified if there was any provincially significant species at risk in the corridor. We confirmed that this is a very built urban environment, so there was no historic water courses, buried infilled creeks, wetlands, or woodlots present. We looked for the removal of trees and vegetation. Vegetation will occur within our Metrolinx right of way because we are expanding and adding a second track in the corridor. As part of our next steps during detailed design, we'll continue our consultation with the City of Toronto, TRCA, and the MNRF to get applicable permits and approvals. This will include the protection for migratory birds within the corridor. There's time-sensitive areas which can be cut down. We'll work near potential species at risk habitat adjacent to the corridor, and during detailed design, we'll develop a tree preservation, removal, and conservation plan. Metrolinx also looked at the conditions of the soils within the neighborhood. As we mentioned in the last presentation, we're on a historic shoreline, so the soil changes from a sandy condition in the south to the north. We did what was known as a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. So that looks at all the historical records in the area to identify if there's any potential environmental areas of concern based within the rail corridor itself and from historic and current industrial and adjacent land uses. Based on those findings, we then undertook the next step in the process, which is a Phase 2 ESA. That involved intrusive testing of soil in the corridor, so we had drill rigs out there to identify where we have the potential for soil or groundwater. The results indicated we had minor impacts to groundwater, and as well as in some of our monitoring wells. So this neighborhood has a high water table, and because of the 100-year historic use of the railway through there, we get these hits. The next steps in the development of this project is we'll work with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change to develop a record of site conditions for the lower portion or within our right-of-way for the project. And we will continue to do further investigation to determine how to address and mitigate any potential contaminations within the corridor. Traffic was looked at. We understand that there's traffic impacts from the long-term operation in the neighborhood as well as the construction impacts. We conducted a transportation impact study to City of Toronto standards where we looked at how the neighborhood traffic is flowing. We looked at existing intersections, whether they're stop signs, signalized intersections, and we assessed how the traffic was moving through there. We then looked at our construction impacts that would happen with construction at various aspects within the corridor, and also with the closure of Wallace Avenue. The project has Wallace Avenue being grade separated in the future, so in order to go from the berm environment to build up the bridge, we have to do a closure of Wallace Avenue to move utilities and get ready for the grade separation. The traffic studies all showed that the traffic would be at acceptable levels at the key intersections within the study area. Traffic levels are. We also have the commitment to work with the City of Toronto and TTC to develop a traffic management plan that we work in consultation with our constructor. We'll look at signal timing, if signals need to be adjusted, and those steps will be taken during detailed design and prior to the construction start. Cultural heritage, as you know, this community has a rich history of historic uses in the neighborhood. So Metrolinx undertook a cultural heritage screening report that we work with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport on. This identifies all the cultural heritage properties of value or interest. We also assess the 3 bridges within the environment. We have the Bloor Street Bridge, the DuPont, and the Davenport Bridge that we jointly own. There's also the Hydro One lands to the northeast corner that have potential heritage value, as long as we have one City of Toronto asset, and then the 2 privately owned, the GE lands in the northeast corner. From there, Metrolinx conducts what's known as a cultural heritage evaluation report for the assets we own. So we look at the 3 bridges that have the potential to be impacted with the project and understand what our design will have on those current assets. From there, if warranted, heritage impact assessment is then submitted, and that is submitted to the Heritage Preservation Services, which is part of the Ministry of Tourism, Transportation and Sport. Archaeology was also looked at in the corridor. A stage 1 archaeological assessment was conducted to understand the historical data and the field review. The rail corridor, as you know, has the Toronto Beltline that's been there for over 100 years. The report found that there was no archaeological sites or potential, and the corridor is cleared of further archaeological concerns. If during construction Metrolinx encounters any evidence, we will stop construction, consult with the Ministry of Tourism and Sport, and do additional field review to clear the site as warranted. Now I'm going to turn over the presentation to Beth Kusta, who is going to talk about our public realm and greenway plan.
Good evening. John's going to kind of join me because we're going to go through a series of panoramic views that we've developed since the last time we met. I would encourage any of you who want to take a closer look at the greenway plan to do so on the panels that are at the side of the room, because there's a bit more detail here than in the last series of drawings that we've seen.
Just want to review some of the key features of the driveway or the overhead bridge as we're moving the design forward. So you can see the overhead catenary supports that are associated with electrification, the sound absorptive walls, the sound absorptive treatment on the inside of the 2-meter high walls that are clad on the outside with stainless steel cladding, with the intent there of making a bit of a camouflage for the visual intrusiveness of the bridge. The bridge caps, which are normally in typical MTO bridges, kind of articulated, are hidden in the structure to make it a smoother and lighter surface. And there's a slot up the middle of the bridge which serves as a skylight so that water can penetrate through, so that native plant materials can grow underneath, and it's a lighter, safer under conditioning.
Has anyone looked at the noise absorption and the noise it will make for those stainless steel walls?
Can we take that question a little bit later?
Sure, of course you
Thank
can.
you. So I'm going to give a bit of an update on the design direction and specific visual impacts. So these panoramas. So this is the first panorama, which is taken at the north corner of Campbell Avenue Park. So now we're looking north up the multi-use pathway with the condominiums at 812 in the distance. And one of the opportunities for opening up east-west connections.
On private property?
And then looking south down the guideway.
This is Campbell Park? That was Campbell Park?
What road is that?
That was
Oh.
So now we're moving. Sorry, can we go back to Campbell? Okay. So now we're at Campbell Park. This is looking down Antler. The sparkly treatment that you're seeing on the columns is a kind of a placeholder for, we've identified the east-west connections as opportunities for public art.
So is this day one before any maintenance is required? This is day one of the unveiling? This is what it looked like?
The plant material is not unlike the material, so high drought-tolerant native plants that require minimal watering and maintenance. So this view now we're looking, we're at DuPont. This is the new library to the west. Now we will be looking at what I call Perry Building, and across the extension, across the existing railway bridge that passes over DuPont. And now looking east towards the city. So you can see that there's a new resolution of grade so that the sidewalk passes up to the level of multi-use pathway on the south side of DuPont. Now we're looking, this is a little bit distorted, but in Irwin Crichton Park. This is one of the new east-west connections as well, under Patton Road. So this extension of the bike path creates a new connection of the multi-use pathway to the park. Again, this is one of the areas that's earmarked for integrated art. underneath. That is the house beside. And now another view at Patton on the other side, on the multi-use path side. So this shows the berm condition looking south. And again, the condition under the new connection that is an opportunity for integrated art.
What an opportunity you're giving us.
There's a good graffiti prohibitive component to having community art.
Right? Very successful.
And then at Wallace. All of the things that you're seeing are all Metrolinx.
Shame on you. Shame on you. That's disgusting.
This is looking underneath. We haven't shown, in the previous renderings, we've shown some community programming in this area, and that's certainly a topic of discussion in the next detailed design. This shows you the relationship of the greenway
Shame on you.
adjacent to.
Shame on you.
That's totally like not going to scale.
Shame on you.
You know what's there now, Max?
And then this is a view at Kevin Park, moving back from under the guideway. And view on Ambler Avenue, moving towards the guideway.
So are those trees already cut down?
Those trees are the Siberian, the existing Siberian elms that will remain.
They're gonna survive.
They will survive.
Awesome.
And this is moving south,
So if they're just going
down the guideway.
No, this is kind of like, this is a bit much. You're slowing a lot of stuff on.
How do you expect this to build any trust in the community?
Wow.
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 Oh, yeah.
Metrolinx does it again. Another successful.
Sorry, it seems a little psychedelic.
What's the reflection going to do?
And finally, another view at Wallace.
Is it going to be that quiet?
Yeah. As long as your windows are closed.
So you've seen these images before, so I'm going to skip through them. We've done a few new views that show the visual impact on nearby houses. So this is a view looking east along Sarnia Avenue towards the Greenway. This is a view looking down Antler towards the Guideway. That's a view from the second floor of the house on Antler.
Wow.
Your makeup.
This is a view at the other end, looking southeast from the second floor of a rank crescent house. That noise wall that you see at the far left of the image is the existing noise wall. And then the visual impact from the nearby condominiums. This is a view looking southwest from the 6th floors of the condos at 812 Lansdowne. And this is a view lower down from the 3rd floor of the condos.
Why is this keep straightforward instead of an angle?
And now I'm going to hand over back to Erin.
We're going to get to questions, and I'll come back to next steps and what's going to happen. I think I would end this portion by saying these were the views that we were asked to produce, so they weren't views that were in any way trying to say that it is wonderful to have a view next door. It's a tight corridor, and this is what people will be seeing, and we thought that it was important to provide that at this meeting. So I'm going to start questions. I'm going to actually stay down the rows, and anyone who has a question row by row, I will take every question and we'll answer them. Gina will bring you a microphone, so if you could, so we'll start with the first row. People can put their hands up, and Gina will give everyone a chance to ask their question. And I would just also like to say all comments are going to be recorded, and they will be submitted as a formal part of the environmental project report that will go to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. So all of your comments will be provided directly to them, and you'll be able to view them as part of the report that's posted online. Sir, yeah, can you turn the lights on, please?
I'm just curious to know, all that luxurious landscaping that you're showing there, all the plantings and everything, that's very, notwithstanding whatever species they might be, it's going to require a great deal of maintenance to keep it going over the years. And I'm wondering who's going to pay for that? Is that something the city's going to pay for? Is that something the province is going to pay for? And if it's going to be the city, have you got an agreement with the city that they're going to maintain it in its beautiful form as shown on the perspectives over the years?
Okay. So I'll take the first part of that, and then I may turn it over in terms of the type of planting that Beth was speaking about that we're looking at for that area. What I would say is that in this presentation, you see the fact that a lot of study is being done, and there's a lot of study still to be done in terms of the mitigation that's possible and the work that's done, that can be done to improve what's been identified as problems and conditions. The greenway underneath the overpass is a definite area where we need to continue to have community input to partner with the City of Toronto. We have had initial meetings with the City of Toronto. They started at the time where we had panel discussions, the residents reference panel, about maintenance, which was raised, governance was raised, the question of whether or not there would be an endowment fund that could be set up was also raised. These are things that we need. These are things that we need the partnership of the city on. And
So you
once
don't have that yet?
Why? It's your project.
we are because the city has authority, and it has it has authority over city parks, and it's important that we respect that and work with that. So it is something that we are working through. I'm going to take questions down the road. This gentleman was first, and we are working through that, and that was handed out in the Q&A as well today, but it doesn't all happen at once, and we're committed to it, and we've also fully committed to funding what is shown in these renderings. So with that, Gina, next. Is anyone else in the front row here has a question? This gentleman right here.
This is just a question. If, like, one of you lived on this street, how would you feel if like, a train went across the bridge every hour?
Bravo. They would love it.
Also, every 15 minutes or however it takes the train to come across. And also, if you might as well move the bridge like more in an industrial area where nobody lives.
if I saw a bridge every hour, and at full time, it's going to be every 7.5 minutes, there's going to be a train on the bridge, I would be concerned if I lived here. And I think that that's why we're and I hear that. So I would be concerned, to your point. But I would say that
Why would you be concerned?
because it's a change to the community, and it's the change to an experience of my home and my investment and my property. And I think that and your house and your pardon?
Better or worse, would it change for the better or the worse, would you say?
Well, I think that depends, because access to transit is also an important part of communities, and is also an important thing.
It does not benefit. No access for us. There's nothing in this for us.
We are looking at a station.
One station. It didn't have to be Metrolinx or the UPS. It's just like, come on.
Okay, we're going to continue comments, but sir, thank you for your comment, and we're going to mark that down, and it'll be part of the record. So Gina, next in.
Transit trump Toronto's living quality.
Sorry, sir, I'm going to work through. You'll have an opportunity to ask that question.
My question is about construction and closure of Wallace Avenue. How long do you anticipate that closure to be, and how come only car traffic was studied? That's also a major pedestrian thoroughfare. And I'd like to know the impacts on the walkability of that closure, especially the people going to school. There's issues there.
Great, thank you. Great question. Renee?
The Wallace Avenue closure would be short-term. That being said, it could be up to 1 month. So the walkability will have to be examined further to find viable routes to get through the corridor.
And you take it into bikes as well? Is that the bike corridor?
Yes, active transportation, cycling, pedestrian flow will also be.
Sorry, is your question, is that good, or do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so 1 month, and you're going to look into walking.
We have to look into what the elements are, and we would bring that back to the community, and you'd have a chance to comment on it.
I believe that the City of Toronto voted 38-1 against this project. So they will not support you in supplying foliage or anything else.
Thank you for that comment.
Can you respond to that comment? Have you heard anything from the city?
So we are working with the city. We continue to meet with the city. We have recently gone to the city's design review panel in terms of taking the design with them, which is a third-party panel that reviews designs of developments and different buildings and structures that are built within the city limits. So we are working with the city to refine both the structure, the plan, and determine long-term maintenance and working out the greenway under the corridor. So we are still working with the city, and it's an active conversation.
Just a couple of things. I like the renderings, but I'd like to know how much to scale they are, because especially that first panoramic, I live at the condos at 812, 816. The one rail that's there now seems awfully close to the fence already, and from the image you supplied, there seems to be 2 rails and lots of space.
Okay, so I will turn it over to the design folks to answer that.
And I have
And the second
the second question is about the, I guess, the absorptive walls, which apparently are really going to be useless for the first 10 years because, as we heard, they're 2 meters high, but the noise from the diesel is 4.5, so they're not really going to do any impact, I guess, on the noise for the foreseeable decade. So what happens to that material after 10 years? Does it degrade?
Okay, I will turn that over to them. In terms of diesel on the overpass structure when it is built, so previously we have committed that we will not run more than 36 trains a day on the corridor because the community was concerned about diesel, and that will introduce midday service along the corridor, so it will mean increased service if the station's built and that part of the process works out. There would be better and increased service for the community, but out of the process that we've been through so far, we've heard that there's concern about the number of diesel trains that are running through the community, and so that commitment to cap at 36 will be maintained.
But I'm saying that they're not going to be absorptive because
They're not going to, but, and I can have the experts speak to this as well, but noise modeling is a combination of both the type of vehicle as well as the amount of service, right? How often the trains are coming by. So that the cap at 36 is also part of that. In terms of your first question, which was about the scale, I'll turn it over to Rick.
So I'm just going to introduce Raymond Chow to answer that question, which will have to do with how the actual architectural model is created.
So the model itself was created a number of ways and confirmed a number of ways. The City of Toronto Alliance makes available to the public 3D SketchUp and AutoCAD model. As well as what we did was we took that model, we also overlaid Google Maps imagery on top of that to generate some of the model itself. So what you see over there on the public realm plan is also a way of confirming the location of of some of where the buildings are placed. To maybe sort of answer why some of these things may be distorted in panoramas, because of its spherical aspect, it does look distorted. So in some ways, if you zoom in on it, it will actually replace some of the distortion and some of the, especially let's say the Rankin Park, or the park like that on Rankin looks extremely like a big football field. It actually isn't. It's actually very few that it's actually accurately modeled.
So it is accurate.
Yeah.
So the distance between the fence and the building and the rails is all accurate?
Yes, so with regards to, say, the fence in between, right behind the housing here, we noticed in the maps and from photographs that we were able to confirm, there were actually two fences. One is the actual fence of the residence, and there was another fence, I think, just behind that.
No, there's only one.
There's only one. So basically, some photographs show, and maybe this was an updated Google Maps image, there's one fence, and then there's another fence that sort of looked like an alleyway behind. Not an alleyway, but just like another, pardon me? The sound wall? Behind the social. Anyways, I'm not taking any other questions about the accuracy of the model.
And I think just in that, for me, is when I saw it, I thought of like when you look at a realty like MLS shot, there's the panorama, there is distortion. So to that point, the panoramic views were something we were asked to do, but there is some distortion in that angle as you go around. If you're interested, I think what I heard, just to recap, is that those will be posted online and you can go in and see things to scale. But to your point, things are close and the corridor exists in a close area, and you see places where it is right beside houses and it's right beside buildings, and that is to scale on the model. Next question.
It's about decibels, but did you want to answer the other question first? Seb's other question? You had a question about sound?
The noise?
The noise.
The noise absorptive barriers.
Yes. So you're correct in saying that for diesel trains, the two-year high noise barrier isn't as effective. That's correct, because of the local road noise. It does provide reduction to the wheel rail noise associated with the diesel train pass by. If you are located near where the diamond is now, there's actually going to be a reduction in the sound levels because the diamond is so noisy. So if you're located kind of on the northeast corner of the intersection of the CP tracks and the GO Transit tracks, there's going to be a significant reduction for those people because they're exposed to a lot of noise right now with the clickety-clack, as I call it, of the diamond. If you're on the southeast corner, you'll also see that reduction in sound level, so there will be a net improvement for you. Even if there isn't effective for you at that corner, there will be a reduction in sound levels because you're eliminating the clickety-clack noise. As you get farther away from the diamond, you're right, the upper floors of receptors will not be able to benefit from this 2-meter high barrier. So there will be residual impact.
What is the decibel noise under the bridge for diesel?
So we didn't look at the noise under the bridge because there are no people living there.
But you want people to go down there?
Yeah, so we did look at the sound levels.
Right. Dogs, people, bikes.
What is the decibel for the trains, diesel diesel trains in the park under the bridge?
So again, like, it's not really part of the evaluation parameters under provincial policy.
You have
to
10 years to live with diesel trains.
Yes, so what we did do is we did consider the noise impacts at all the receptors located nearby. Yeah, exactly, because nobody lives on the bridge.
But you want people to
Where people
go
have to hang out.
Yeah.
At the farmer's market.
So I would actually go back to the earlier comment that was made as well, when that was raised at previous meetings. That is also the reason for the cap of the 36 trains, is realizing, well, it does in terms of, and when we speak about modeling, sound also has to do with the type of vehicle, definitely, the diesel that's running, but also the amount of time it's running, and that is part of the equation.
We want people to spend time in these parks, and there's diesel trains going every, what, 30 minutes?
And we are
And
electrifying
they
as
sound
quickly
like
as
a
we
jet
can.
taking off. That's how loud it is.
It's not a full 10 years. It's not a full
8 years.
Thank you, and we'll mark down that comment, but we'll keep moving on questions, and if someone would like to also clarification on electrification. Sorry, sir, I'm gonna actually work through that one because there's a question over there as well. Yeah. You'll get your turn, sir.
I'm going to continue on with this noise and vibration study. I don't know if people know, but Options for Davenport created their own EA, and we released it today, and we did our own sound study. It's very interesting. I would really take a look at some of the levels. We were getting close to the bridge, somewhere near 90 to 105 decibels, and if you look on the chart over there, you can see it's really loud, rock concert type of sound, or airplane jet noise type of sound. So, question to the sound guy, Sam.
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah.
What's the bottom line? Overall, is the sound going to increase over the 10 years, or is sound going to increase?
So yeah, very, very interesting study. I do know that the sound levels that we're taking were underneath the steel structure. Concrete structures are far less noisy, and they're designed to be far less noisy. So that's not really representative of what a concrete structure is.
Not two trains passing.
Yeah, but still, concrete structures are far less noisy than steel structures, and there's a really.
How many decibels less noisy? We need quantity numbers.
Okay, you know what? I'll look up the exact numbers, but it's more than 10 dB, so it's at least half as loud.
From 130 to 120?
Actually, it's not 130, but I think it was 90.
To that, a regular diesel train, what's their normal decibel level?
Okay, so if you're looking at just a locomotive, under a neutral throttle setting, that means it's not really, kind of working hard, it's just a neutral throttle setting. The sound level is typically about 88 dB at 50 meters.
Okay, so my question is, overall, at the end of the 10 years, is the sound going to be more than what we're going to experience today, or less?
So, like I said, it depends on where you are. There's no one answer for everybody in this corridor. If you're near the diamond, it'll be less. If you're located farther away from the diamond and you don't benefit from the reduction in the diamond noise, it will be more.
Okay, so, because I was reading the report, it basically said ultimate traffic volumes up to the 180 trains will generate some significant noise during the daytime and greater in the nighttime. So, according to your chart, significant noise is 5 to 10 decibels greater.
Correct.
And so, like you keep saying, well, you're going to be reduced by half, but if you're increasing by 5 or 10, you're doubling the noise. So basically, we're going to be experiencing a significant noise increase during the day and greater significance at night. So we're going to, basically, our noise is going to be doubled over the next 100 years. Is my understanding of what's happening?
That's not, so you're applying the noise impacts for some people to everybody, which is not what the report does.
I'm just reading from page 19. Pardon? I'm just reading from page 19.
Yeah.
Ultimate traffic volume. So at the end of the day, the area, the neighborhood on the whole is going to experience more noise.
Yeah.
For sure.
What I would add to that, and Sam, is there, of course, is going to be more service. There's a commitment to offer 15-minute two-way service through the
That's
corridor.
great.
And that is
silent.
No, but there's no question that that's more service and more trains and more noise than there is today, right? So,
But we're going to get double, a significant increase is basically double the noise, right? Because a 5 to 10 increase in decibel
I can answer
levels-
that, but I'm going to turn it back over. But what I'm saying is there's the volume of trains is definitely increasing. And
Yeah.
that's part of, and I've been out at a number of public meetings recently with the minister and the mayor, and they may say it better than me, but the status quo is not going to remain the same. Traffic is going to increase.
Okay, I understand.
And transit is part of that solution.
My
and it's
question
an
is, we're
important
not
part of
opposed
the
to transit in this neighborhood. We never were, never from the beginning. But my question to you is this: if you're going to come here and tell us you've been coming here for a year now, saying, "Oh, look how beautiful these designs are. Look, we're going to have all this fun. People are going to be underneath the bridge. They're going to be like this, you know, at 100 decibels or 90 decibels." Well, if you're going to come here, you haven't listened. You hear us, but you're not listening to us, right? Come with a plan where the noise, yeah, you're going to increase the traffic, but you're going to reduce the noise. Like, you can't expect us to live for 100 years in this neighborhood with a double increase in sound, because that's basically what your report summarizes. Right? 180 trains will generate some significant noise during the daytime and greater than nighttime. That's even worse, because we have no trains right now at night.
That's right.
That's right.
We have recommended noise mitigation measures to reduce the sound levels. So we are making quite a bit of reduction in the sound levels for a lot of people.
And then the other thing is, when you make your sound measurements of all these receptors, did you have receptors on people's windows or beside their home?
Yeah. Yes.
My question is too, the other thing is, do we have to now, for the next 100 years, especially in the summertime, hang out in our homes with our windows closed?
Yes.
Because that's part of the receptor. If you open the windows, that's part of your sound mitigation, is double glazed windows.
The bridge or the train, we're talking about the bridge, it's 180 trains. Okay, that's the cause of the extra noise. The bridge that's making the noise, or will we make it?
Well, Kevin, whatever it is, it has to be mitigated, right? That's all I'm asking. I don't want
Let's
to.
have a discussion rather than keep arguing about the noise from the train.
I'm asking how they're going to mitigate that noise. That's all I'm asking, Kevin.
And we're going to take those comments and say we are going to work through mitigation, which is also part of what we've put forward tonight. And the mitigation is part of detailed design, and there's options for that. So we will be working with the community and the city and the rest of our partners as that design piece moves forward. Thank you. Next. No, we're going down the line here, sir, and then we'll come to you, but I need to keep track, so I'm just going to move in order.
I have two questions. One is, so I'm above where the bridge is proposed in terms of height. And in terms of the sound assessment, I just want to understand that you said anything between 5 and 10 plus dBs will be a significant increase in sound. Yeah, so if I'm above where the train's going to be going, there's nothing you can do for me in terms of mitigating sound. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If you are near the diamond, there will be a reduction in the sound levels. If you are located farther away from the diamond, that's correct. The sound levels will go up.
If I'm above the train.
If you're above and you're looking down into the tracks, yes, there will be an increase in noise because of the surface. There'll be between a 5 and 8 dB increase in noise, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, my next question, I'm going to read a little bit because this is about the condos at 812 and 815 Lansdowne. I was communicating with the developer and they said that the developer was obligated to put in a crash wall running around the length of the property with a sound attenuation fence on top. And this was Metrolinx that said they had to build this. And also that the properties at 812 and 816 had to be above the grade of the tracks to keep the train in effect at a lower level than the adjoining lands, and a crash wall to absorb the impact should a train come off the tracks. So the crash wall and the soil behind it was intended to absorb the force of a wayward train and protect the people of 812 and 816 Lansdowne. So I see that there is a plan for a 2-meter wall. That seems to me less robust than building the properties above the tracks. Now we're looking at the reverse, which seems to me a significant safety issue. So can someone please tell me that this is not a crazy safety problem we're creating for people who live right along the rail line?
I can. And I will turn this over to Nick, who can speak about what happens when developers do contact us and what recommendations we give in terms of standards. So I would start off by saying that that recommendation was given when there was a different level of service anticipated on the corridor, because the announcement for two-way, all-day, 15-minute electrified service was 2015. So that recommendation was given before that time.
Sorry, which recommendation was given before?
The recommendation for that development, okay? And I'll let Nick speak to it in a bit more detail. But what I do know is that there are different safety requirements in terms of the infrastructure that we build, and you don't have to trust us on this. We're required to follow Transport. That's fair. Transport Canada's state safety standards and regulations. It has to be inspected. In this case, the technology that ensures that anti-crash element is a third rail that's installed into the bridge.
Now after that residency?
Sorry?
Are those the ones under review right now?
Third rails?
No, the current federal standards.
No, that's a freight standard. So this is a piece of infrastructure, and so I will turn that over. But it is different technology, so I understand the concern about it. It seems like that's much greater and it's much more substantive. But there are regulations and requirements for safety that are built in this structure as well. They're just different. So Nick, do you want to add to that?
Sure. I'm not sure how much I can add to it, but just to clarify, because that development, the reason why they're being asked to put or build a structural wall, because it's actually part of the superstructure of the building. So by Transport Canada rules, if somebody's going to build now in a new development, they have to stay 30 meters back from our right of way. Just Transport Canada rules. They want to, of course, maximize their density on their property, so they want to not encroach, but they want to come very tight to the right of way, right? So by Transport Canada rules then, in order to allow them to take that density, they're asking them to make the wall that's supporting the building heavier grade in case something happens. What's on the building, or what's on the structure itself, is a Jordan rail. It's a standard process that we have in bridges all across Canada, and it's to prevent the train from derailing. And the other thing that we have here is that we're on a straight axis. There's no curvature involved, but there's no switches, because this is where problems occur with derailment, is when trains are coming to different switches. There's nothing like that on the structure. I don't know if that clarifies.
Well, what about the grade, that the building and the track couldn't be at the same grade for safety concerns, and now the train is way above the building. You know what I'm saying?
The building couldn't be at the same grade.
Yeah, like that,
I don't think that's a Metrolinx requirement, but we can certainly look into that, but I don't, that's not our requirement. But I know, because I went through this, because when I first heard it from our guy saying this, is 10.5 meter. What are you guys talking about? And then it got explained to me that it's actually part of the building. I don't know about this thing about it being lower or higher. I could look into that. I've never heard that.
No, because our developer is never going to build that if that's what's required.
The developer's not going to build that? Well, why would? No, I understand it. Well, that becomes his choice. If that's the case, he's got to step back, right?
thank you. Great answer.
Thank you, and we will note that, and we'll follow up in terms of the specific grade questions. So thank you.
Questions and make comments. I too was wondering how you measured the decibel level in those buildings when you said if the windows were closed. And are you saying that we have acceptable decibel levels if we close our windows? Like, that just seems like, and I may be misinterpreting what you said exactly, but that's how it read to me.
So I'll maybe interpret and then turn it over, but what I would say is that there's two parts of the presentation. There's what the reading is, unmitigated, so what the decibel increase is, and then we do look at what helps reduce that sound. And
So we could close our windows
so
that
in a
the
building,
decibel level is acceptable?
No. So what it's saying is that for a building that has already walls and glass windows, when it's an electric train, those are more effective at mitigating the noise.
That's 10 years.
Right.
It's not.
They won't have
Years?
Okay. But that's what is intended by that, in that there's materials there currently that become more effective when you remove the low frequency vibration that right now people, and I live by a rail corridor myself, but you feel that it shakes your windows. The low frequency vibration that comes off of the diesel engines has a different impact on materials like windows and walls than the electric train.
So what about when windows are open? What's the measurement?
So that was the unmitigated measurement.
Yeah, that's correct. So what we try to document is the reduction in sound levels that would be present with the windows closed with electric trains. So it's a relative decrease for electric train noise compared to diesel train noise. With windows open, there are, and we've been pretty clear that there are no benefits if your windows are open, or the benefits are minimal. So it's the same increase. Yeah, I'm just reporting the findings of the study. I'm not trying to,
Thank you.
These are what the facts
Thank you for
are.
your honesty.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so, what, in all of this, that there doesn't seem to be like a people assessment. So with the Metrolinx UP Express, I don't know what the decibel levels and stuff were there, but one of the complaints that is frequently heard in this neighborhood is the constant ringing of the bells. So those bells may not exceed decibel levels, but they certainly are impinging on the psychological health of the neighborhood because they're every 15 minutes throughout the day. So I'm just making a point that I'm not seeing that sort of people bit in here. The next thing, sorry, I'm going to take time because you seem to be just pushing through, and I don't get the feeling that you're going to be coming back.
We will be coming back. We'll be coming back often.
In your underneath your drawing here of the I don't know, galaxy way there, your plantings, I don't know if this was deliberate or not, but you have goldenrod and I think purple loosestrife, which is an invasive species, and goldenrod, it's not a noxious plant, but it is a weed. And it's sort of, to me, that picture shows what we're going to get. We're going to get an invasive species, and we're going to get a weed underneath there. And I think that that's very accurate. I don't think we're going to have anything else. And one last thing. You keep saying that you're going to consult with, you're continuing discussions, you're working with your partners, you're welcoming community input, you're having active discussions. And yet, the City of Toronto gave you their partnership, their working partners, their whatever, like their bedfellows. They said tunnel. You have a community here that has said, given you our input, and yet really when I look at this, and I've been coming to all of these meetings, I don't see the response to the community.
Did you want to respond to that? Comment?
Did you want a response? I didn't know.
Oh, sure,
Okay. I would say that in terms of the greenway and the type of species and what the plans are for that, that is why we're starting the community advisory committee, because that isn't the final plan. We do need to continue to work through that. And as I said to the gentleman earlier, part of that is a conversation with the city about what can be maintained and what's going to happen. So to that point, that is something that we will continue to work through, and we do want it to be something that both the community wants and that can be easily maintained.
Okay, but you see, there you are saying it's an ongoing conversation, and yet this is I don't know how many years in the making, and it's been something that community has brought up, that this really, we are worried that this is going to be a graffiti-filled, dangerous place.
Absolutely.
And I don't think... I think you can put lipstick on this pig, and it's not going to change. And so to
Look
even...
at the UPS.
Yeah, sure, look at the UPS X, and you'll see. But you see that there was so little thought even put into what's underneath this in your drawings after 2 years or whatever it is. Just shows to me that the things that are important to people, that make a community, that make it livable, aren't even on your radar.
So I have 3 questions. One is with this stainless steel mirror. What noise will that bring? And what maintenance will be required to keep it looking the way it is in your illustrations for the duration of its life? Secondly, the city at meetings that I've been has publicly said they are not committing anything to maintenance, that this is Metrolinx land. Do you have any evidence that their perspective has changed? Thirdly, how much is Metrolinx committing to this endowment fund should this project move forward in maintaining the land so that this community, in the worst case scenario that this is actually built, can use it?
So I'll start with your last question first, and then I'll pass over to Beth in terms of the actual stainless steel, the absorptive quality, and the maintenance of it. What I would say in terms of the endowment and the maintenance, what we've been looking at is we're looking at a standard over a 30-year time span to see how much it costs on average to maintain something of this length and width as an average, and putting that money into an endowment fund. And we are looking at that with the City of Toronto to ensure that there's sufficient funds in that. But that is part of the conversation about maintenance and the final plan underneath the bridge. So we have heard that in terms of the panel report recommendations that asked us about governance and endowment and upkeep, and we've also heard from the city their concerns about the ability to upkeep it. So that is an ongoing conversation, and it will be based on, it's going to be based on what the standard of care and what it costs to maintain, and we have to start somewhere, that kind of space.
But shouldn't that come first before the design? How can you be pushing for these public grounds when we haven't figured out if and who is going to maintain it?
Well, I think part of the design will also determine what the upkeep and maintenance is. So I think it's a concurrent process, but it is. It's a concurrent process. So for instance, in the initial conversations, the skylight wasn't part of the design. The skylight allows water and light to actually maintain part of the space under the overpass. That has an impact on long-term maintenance and what happens over that space instead of watering it or doing some other type of care. So the two are intertwined, and the two need to be worked out together so that whatever is built to this point, whatever is put in, can be properly maintained.
So Metrolinx is going to commit to spending, having 100% of the maintenance covered.
We have committed to working that out with the city and looking at it down, and we will be back with that commitment. We also committed to your point about the actual design. So at the last public meeting, the additional greenway and design elements, so the skylight in the structure came to 140 million. And we committed in January to funding the full cost of that 140 million, which includes the public plan. That's set, and maintenance is going to be determined, but we also need to understand what that maintenance cost is before we pick a random number in terms of maintenance. So we hear loud and clear that maintenance is important, and we will be coming back with more information on maintenance. But I'll let Beth speak to the actual stainless steel and
the city's
of the I can't speak for the city, but we are actively working with the city on these elements.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify one thing about the stainless steel cladding. So the stainless steel is on the outside, and there's a sound absorptive material on the inside. So the thinking behind kind of putting the stainless in place was that it would break down, it would soften the visual quality of the bridge. And where that stainless steel goes and how it goes is very much something that we want to talk with the community about in the next phase of design. But what's important is that we've got a placeholder there for a premium, high-quality material that is a much more visually acceptable alternative than a bare concrete structure, which would be much more difficult to keep clean of graffiti. The stainless steel structure, and maybe Ray can speak to this because I know that your team has used this material. It comes in a number of different finishes, from what's called a pillowed surface to a more burnished surface, according to what people want to see in the community.
What is the sound reducing material?
I'm sorry?
What is the sound reducing material?
I'm going to have to pass that over to Sam, but can we just finish talking about
Let's finish the stainless steel and we'll handle it to Sam. We're going to get you too. This is quickly.
With regards to the stainless steel, we used this material on buildings before, and one reason is to reduce sound, because we built several mock-ups of how this material is applied. It was reinforcing behind, and what we use in this instance, and Sam had a different strategy, is that we used a sound insulation, almost like a rock salt product, to batten down the stainless steel behind. So basically, to almost reinforce the steel while providing the sound absorption.
Is there an example we can see the steel that's used somewhere in the GTA?
Or in the world?
We have a building in Edmonton that we could show as a precedent as well. That's been installed.
Sorry, where's your influence of this bridge? Sorry, where's your influence? Like, where in the world have you seen a stainless steel bridge from?
So we do have examples of that online. They use it quite a bit in the, I believe, the UK has some examples of public structures where this is used to, as was discussed, to soften the elements of it and reflect the trees where it can in the houses. So, but it is online, and I'm happy to send that to you. Do you want to? Sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, in Canada, in BC, they use them in highway overpasses. They use the same strategy. Sometimes they tilt the panels a bit up so it reflects the sky directly, but it has been used in Canada on fairly pedestrian.
And how do they maintain them in those instances, and what is the maintenance cost, and also what's the vibration of them?
Vibration is not an issue because they're fixed to the bridge. The bridge is designed to absorb the vibration from the trees, and then you have the stainless steel panels affixed to them, so it's not really an issue. In terms of cleaning,
do they use it in urban settings?
So if we could just finish the one question, and then we will continue to move through the project.
Yeah, and I mean, stainless steel is largely self-cleaning. I would imagine at the end of the diesel cycle, you'd want to do a major sort of top to bottom clean, and then after electrification, it won't be an issue. But Stainless steel buildings have been built in cities throughout the world, and rain tends to wash the dirt off. You might get some streaking, but not much, especially with the polished finish.
And I would add, at the last meeting, we had a sample of the stainless steel, but we also had information which I could send back around following this meeting if you signed up to the email list, that was about graffiti specifically and a graffiti strategy, and that the stainless steel can actually be washed with a solution, and it's easier to remove graffiti than some of the concrete elements that you see. So we do have information in detail on that, and we're happy to share that as well. But I'm going to try to keep going and take the next question, because we do have a permit, and at some point I need to wrap the evening up. So actually, can I just take the question?
Next year, like this year, but then next year it could work, because if you got sick, how would you feel?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you. So maybe the best way to explain it is that when we electrify, right now, it's kind of like building a house. We don't yet have a wire that brings electricity into the house. We don't have wires within the house. We don't have an outlet that you can plug it into to electrify. So for the entire system right now, what we're doing is we're looking at how we're going to tap into hydro. We've got to bring that hydro into wires so that we can power the trains. And we're doing that as fast as we can, but we have to build it first, and it does take some time to build it. So thank you for that question.
If you were building a house, you wouldn't get a permit.
But you're building it twice. Why are you building this twice? Why are you building this twice?
Okay, so we'll get to you in a moment. Gina, right at this end. Thank you.
I just wanted to stand up for goldenrod. Goldenrod is part of biodiversity and is very, very important. I just wanted to do another little bit of housekeeping too about sound. The dB scale is a logarithmic scale, which means that 10 dB is more than twice the volume of 5 dB. It's exponential, correct?
Well, yeah,
So it's very important when discussing these things, especially to a non-scientific audience, that you're clear about how the scale works. So it's like the Richter scale. So how much more is 10 dB than 5 dB on an exponential scale?
Sam, do you want to?
Just so people know.
No, so I did say that 10 dB increase is about a doubling of loudness. If 5 dB is probably about 50% louder, roughly.
Okay, I just want people to be clear on that, because that often gets lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just going to make a quick comment, if that is cool with you folks, and I've written it down so I can speed through it. So I'm representing Friends of West Toronto Rail Path and also other proponents of human-powered motion in the community. And my statement is in no way an endorsement of this plan. It is just a comment on the plan for the EA as you're envisioning it now. If that's cool, and it's not very long.
And if you could just send it to us, we'll make sure the full is submitted.
Yes, it was actually already sent to Metrolinx as part of a letter from the community. So in terms of the mixed-use trail aspect of it, you know, all of us need to work together for better transit of all modes. And that's basically what we're talking about when we talk about intermodal transportation or active transportation. And so I kind of find that we need to get out of our silos and work together to make every transit opportunity the best one that it can be. Now, with the potential creation of a mixed-use trail alongside or under the overpass, we have a rare chance to connect different neighborhoods and expand to the future Green Line to the north and to the West Toronto Rail Path, which will soon go all the way down south to Able Street. If this trail is just a few blocks, if the trail that's under the underpass is just a few blocks long, then it would not be as useful. It would sort of be like a berry line that went only from Bloor to Davenport. Sure, there would be some local use, but its potential would be limited, and at night this trail would be very underused. And in terms of a potential station at Bloor, you won't get a mobility hub if you just build a stub. I know, it's pretty corny.
That's very nice.
So a connected trail that goes somewhere will have vibrancy, safety, and people-powered transit that will enrich all the communities that are connected. And it will provide intermodal options for thousands more, sort of like from trail to your rail, and vice versa. And that would be kind of cool, actually. So, in closing, in terms of this project, Metrolinx has a mandate to support intermodal transit. To make this the best it can be, we need Metrolinx to not just say on brochures that this would be nice to connect to other things, but to instead say, we Metrolinx support this, and we will actively work with the city and the community to make it happen. Please join us in making this amenity a true benefit to the West End for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Words, but I would point out that MPP Martins and Councillor Bailao have also spoken to us about the importance from the community of connecting those paths. And so what was in the sheet that's available today is that we've done some initial work south of Bloor to connect with the Toronto West Rail Path, and we do think it's possible that there's some areas in there where we may need to work with the city in terms of connecting the two because we don't own them all. And in terms of connecting north, we are also looking at that, and that also crosses over into municipal jurisdiction with the support of the councillor and the support of the MPP. I know that is definitely a priority, and that we are, to your point, actively working to make that a reality. Sorry, I'm going to. Oh, sorry, sir. And then we're going to do this man first, and then you next. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A few questions. I live on Rankin Crescent on the east side of the street between Wallace and Peyton. So a couple of things. One, the reflection from the stainless steel, I'm just concerned that the reflection from the sun would come right directly into my house, given the height of the wall isn't high enough to, I guess, prevent that from happening. So just a comment on whether or not there's anything to be done to mitigate that. Second point on the height of the wall, is there anything that can be done to extend it so that we don't actually come face to face with people going to work every day? Thirdly, there's supposed to be about 14 decibels, I think, on increase relative to where we are on the plan. Is there anything, what's the level of mitigation that we're talking about when you speak about, these ballast mats and all this sort of stuff? Like what actual percentage mitigation are we talking about? And then finally, I'm not sure, I didn't see this in some of the analysis that's been done so far, but has any work been done in terms of the potential carcinogenic impact of having increased diesel service for the next 8 to 10 years? Thank you.
So I'm going to answer just really quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over the kind of a middle question and the last question. In terms of the impact from the diesel trains, that was looked at as part of that air quality study that we showed results of earlier. So we could go, if you have additional questions on that, we can definitely go over that with you. In terms of the stainless steel and the impact into your house or the backyard, Beth or John mentioned earlier that there are different options in terms of that stainless steel, and one of the options is a burnished, so it wouldn't be as reflective. So if you want to think of like a brushed stainless steel that doesn't have the same reflective quality, but the stainless steel is a design element that, again, as we move forward in the design process, that is something that we can discuss, and if it's a concern that the burnished isn't even going to mitigate what we'll experience, then that's up for discussion. I'm just going to turn it over to Sam in terms of the questions about mitigation, ballast mats.
So I think you had two questions. One was the height of the barrier and could it be raised? So the reason we recommended the 2-meter high barrier was it was quite effective at the higher elevations of the overpass and guideway. As you get back down to grade, you can go taller, and we will investigate that during the design. The reason that the barrier is 2 meters and not 5 is because of technical feasibility and also visual impact. So we try to keep the barrier compact while still providing quite a bit of reduction. Yeah, as it gets further back in grade, yeah, we can look at going taller, yeah.
And then
And then, yeah, so the balance, so the vibration levels, they're not like noise, they're expressed in absolute levels. It's a 14% increase in vibration levels. And ballast mats can provide, depending on the soils and things like that, they can provide a 25% reduction or more. If you have really stiff soils, they can provide quite a bit of reduction. And if you don't have any stiff soils, then it's less effective.
So there'll still be an increase there.
No, you go 25, you go 14% up and then 25% down. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, you would have to look at the soils in order to determine the exact measure. Yep.
We can come back as well in terms of as we move forward, what that impact will be or what the mitigation that is determined is going to be. So we will come back on that point. Okay, are we done this row now? And now we move to this very patient lady.
Just the people from Metrolinx here, I know you're dealing with a hostile room, but deep down we are appreciative of your taking our questions, so thank you. My question is for Beth, actually. And I don't know if you can answer this or not. I know you guys are just working with the pool of money that you have, and you're doing the best that you can with what you have. How much would it cost to build a bridge or an overpass that is, going to be in an architectural magazine? This is not like an actual, this isn't like a dig or anything, this is like an actual question of, this kind of looks like the options for Davenport rendering with some stainless steel on the side. And Metrolinx was very, and that's, again, which Metrolinx was very upset about when we released, but it's just, it looks very similar. So how much would it be to build a really pretty bridge?
The feedback that we received at the City of Toronto Design Review Panel commended this design. This is a community of our peers. They are not our employees, they are our peers in the field of design, and they're on that panel because they're experts. And they talked about the design as they commended Metrolinx for leading with design on this project.
No, this is the thing. You're doing a great job with what you have. But if you want to get this in a magazine, this is something you're proud of in your career. How much does that cost to build?
I am proud of this in my career.
I don't know. I don't.
This is a bridge that goes far above and beyond a typical train overpass. It takes into account the quality of space underneath. It allows for planting, it allows for a multi-use pathway, it allows for a park that will increase the amenity in our neighborhoods for generations to come. That's a significant contribution.
But you can't use it because of the noise.
And I thank Beth, but I do think she's genuinely proud of that comment, and we can follow up with you if you're asking about cost differentials and international examples. We'll get back to her on that, but to Beth, I do think she's proud of the work she's done. So I know
Beth is doing
she's
bonafide great work. But
she
let's
is.
help you as a community get the most money you can from our political overlords to make this even snazzier. So
we will give you some snazzy examples, but I'm going to put Beth on the spot more on that. So thank you for the comment and questions. Next, so I'm looking at Gina and in terms of going down the line, in terms of the road.
Right beside me.
No, sir, from the beginning, sir, I did say I tried to take it order because people have questions. So this gentleman here also has a question. Pardon me?
You're being unfair. You've been waiting
Everyone's been waiting the same amount of time, and I know there's lots of questions.
So, sorry, I guess two questions. You did a lot of assessments, and I appreciate the comments about have you done it like a real social impact in terms of the quality of life and the community. What will the impact be on that? But I'd like to ask, I know you did the national environment assessments on endangered species in the downtown core and how will they be affected. What's going to be the dollar value on the property of the neighborhood after this, and how much is going to be lost And why is it more important that commuters from Barrie get a 15-minute train?
Absolutely.
When this neighborhood is going to
Absolutely.
And I'm sure this is going to be met with a certain response, but actually the 15-minute two-way electrified service does not extend to Barrie. The 15-minute two-way electrified service is actually about changing from basically a 50-kilometer radius of Union Station, which is 416, is using existing GO corridors, so there's 7 of them, to actually offer a new rapid transit option. So the people from Barrie don't get the 15-minute service. The people in the city of Toronto, because there is the congestion and problems, that's where the focus is.
I appreciate that, and I really appreciate that, because it sort of leads nicely into my next question, which when the young gentleman who was standing over there, and the kind of line of conversation went to sort of, if the kind of crowd asking you to say flat out this was going to have a negative impact on this community, and you wouldn't say that, and the answer you just gave, I think, is indicative of your approach generally, which is sort of non-answers and sort of not directly dealing with the conversation that we're trying to have with you, except for Sam. In light of that, sort of, you can't even flat out tell us that this is going to have a negative impact on us. When anyone, sorry, let me finish my question. When anyone can plainly see it is, right? I mean, like, honestly. Sorry. Okay. The question is, outside of changing voting patterns, what can we actually do to make changes? Are the ministers going to be here? Will Del Duca come or Murray for the next community engagements, or is this just you guys coming, the comms people and a couple experts I'm sorry, you guys get just get beat up. What are you actually going to do for us? Except, put lipstick on the pig. Is there going to be a minister here? I've always voted Liberal. I don't want to vote for anyone else because I don't like them, but I will, because this is the only thing that really matters to me in the community.
I don't know if you were at the meeting or not, but MVP Martins actually did bring Minister Del Duca to the Davenport community for a meeting so that he could hear directly from the community about the project and concerns. So that presence has come, and though Metrolinx is here to answer your questions, what I will say is that I don't have all the answers and I don't have absolutes. What I have is where we're at today, what we're trying to work through, and I'm giving my honest response about where we're at today. So that may not fully satisfy everyone's questions.
If you don't get all the answers, but your answers haven't been truthful, and that's the problem.
Next.
I'm not sure if this has been released yet or not, but ridership projection numbers, if they've been released or not. And my second question is, south of Bloor Street, what's in plan for vibration and noise mitigation south of Bloor Street?
Okay. So the full business case, there was a business case that Metrolinx went through to provide the province with an understanding of what it would take to bring a 15-minute two-way service to the GO network. There's 5 different business cases with ridership projections. It is online, and I'm happy to send that link to you. It's quite a large document, so I'd be happy to meet with you and bring in experts. I don't have them on me right now, but I can get them. What I would say about noise mitigation south of Bloor is this project, in terms of bringing this expanded GO service, has a lot of layers, I would say. So right now, as we're looking at stations on a network-wide level, and the Bloor station is part of one study, there's also an active study underway that is about doubling the track on the entire corridor. So to your question, noise south of Bloor is part of that EA process, and we will also be out with that information to provide where sound mitigation is required for the rest of the corridor. So, yes. Okay, I'm looking to them in terms of direction. Okay, you know what? We're going to let this down. We're going to let this go.
So the first thing, so it just gets recorded in the notes, but
Yes.
for the public realm to make sense, you have to estimate noise levels beneath the bridge. Okay? We have some content. I guess the second thing is, and this is sort of gimmicky, but am I 7.9 or 8.5 meters away from you? So what's the distance? Because what's the distance between me and the stage right now?
I look, ask, at the engineers, because
Where are you?
from him to the.
From me right now. Yeah.
8.5 meters.
8.5 meters. So basically the distance from me and the podium right now is the distance between, the top of a house and the bridge. It's close.
It's close.
Yeah, so just so we physically know that that's the distance. Because of that, we were talking about the decibels of the diesel train being 88 decibels at 15 meters. So you did do estimations for the decibel levels of the diesel train at 8.5 to 7.9, yes? Pardon?
No, we did.
Yeah.
We looked at 36 meters trains operating.
Can you speak in the
Sorry,
mic?
I'm going to ask you to come up just so the rest of us can
Okay.
No, we did look at 36 diesel trains operating on Mountain Pass, and what the mitigation benefits would be for those 36 diesel trains as well.
Right, but a diesel train at 8.5 meters from a bedroom window, how many decibels would that be?
So the policy that we have, it's based on state. I'm just telling you what the policy that we have to work with. It's based on the comparison of the daytime average sound levels to the nighttime average sound levels. The reason this policy is in place is because there's a ton of surveys done about how a community responds to noise. And the best metric that we have to categorize the response of a community to noise increases in transportation noise is the daytime equivalent sound level. That is what the guidelines are based on. That is the impact scale that project is evaluated on. It's a 5 dB increase in noise generates a stronger community response to transportation noise based on the average daytime and nighttime sound levels. Now, what does the average sound level take into consideration? It covers off everything that people are really concerned about. It covers the maximum sound level that an event makes. It captures how many events there are, and it captures the length of the event.
Okay.
So all this goes into the calculation of the average sound level, which is then we apply this kind of 5 dB increase or more to justify a significant increase in sound, and what can we do to help reduce those sound levels. So that's what we're working with here, and that's kind of what the assessment has done.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is that we've got these noise impact things, and if we're talking, we've got about 86 as a truck at 15 meters.
Yeah.
So, if we're talking at 8.5 meters away from the bedroom wall.
Yeah, so,
What's your guess?
What's the guess? How many decibels is that?
yeah, so typically a line source, such as a transportation noise source, decreases at a rate of 3 dB per doubling distance.
Okay.
So as you get, if you go from 15 meters to 7.5, it's 3 dB louder.
Right.
And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
40% louder. Okay. So I guess the other thing, in addition to public realm, I want like an estimate of what the actual decibels would be away from those houses.
But then there's also noise mitigation concerns and stuff like that,
Yeah. And I guess the last thing, sorry for taking so much time.
That's okay.
12th of December 2013, Glenn Murray said that Metrolinx was going to be introducing a pilot project before 2017 on the Union Pearson Express line to test hydrogen-based onboard electric systems. Is that still going on? Are they going to be testing electrically battery-operated trains as a possible way of electrifying the line without
I'm going to need to get
contaminants?
back to you on that, and I will take it down, but I don't have any information about that tonight. I will get back to you, but I'm sorry, and I don't think anyone here has that information, because that's fleet and operations, and it's a whole different group of folks, unfortunately.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say, and I'm going to try to move through quickly, so I may not respond to everything, but I can follow up. We do have a permit and we need to be out of here by 9, so I'm going to try to move through the questions. So I'm going to work this way, Gina, and just work down the line, okay? You're next, thanks.
Hi. So thanks for being here, because I imagine this is just as frustrating for you as it is for us. What is frustrating about this is that the community with no expertise continues to find problems, because this is an unprecedented project, and we're not dummies about that. I think what is doubling over the frustration is that we do have the comms and the design team here, but we don't have the decision makers who made the decision to put in the overpass. And I applaud Anna and Christina for being here, and my actual point is, I guess, twofold. One, I trust that everyone who's here from Metrolinx tonight takes back to those who they work with that we're not done. We're not even close to done in terms of why overpass. We're not done in terms of the satisfaction with answering the questions of the community. And please take this as an invitation from us to tell them that you were met with utter frustration, sadness, disappointment in our public officials, our public agency, the use of our public dollars to bring us people who have stuck it out through this frustration, because I'm new to this, and this is frustrating for me in the short term, but for those who have stuck it out in the long term and those who are new to the project, we have to double over again and again and again, because we have Christina here, we have Anna here, we have the Metrolinx people here, and we have to keep telling them what is wrong with this. Our votes in the next election aren't enough. Our letters are just the beginning. We have to be knocking on doors. We have to be at every meeting. You're right, this isn't the last meeting, and we can't stop. So get your neighbors involved, knock on doors, talk about it at the parks, mention it at the PTA meetings. It's not over.
Thank you for that. Next, just beside you, thank you.
Hi. So we all understand that discussions are still ongoing on this topic, but if there is no consensus reached between the city, the province, and Metrolinx regarding who will be financially responsible for the long-term maintenance and landscaping required for the proposed greenway portion of the design, will construction of the bridge still commence?
So, we have committed to funding what is there, and we have also committed to an endowment fund, and we are working with the city, and we are optimistic about that, because there are a lot of connections with paths and parks and a number of things that would integrate into the community. We also understand that if we create this greenway underneath, then it's still our property, and maintenance does still fall to us. So we're optimistic that we can do more, and that working with the city, we're going to accomplish more. But we also understand if we build it, it has to be maintained, and there's legal requirements around that as well. So again, I'm not giving you a definitive answer saying we wouldn't build the bridge, but we fully recognize the responsibility that comes with building a space like this.
Because you understand that the space that you're proposing underneath and surrounding the bridge to connect the communities and the beautification, that's really the only asset you're presenting to us as a community at this stage.
Yes.
And so for the project to proceed without a realistic 100% concrete plan for the financial backing of that portion of the project, I don't understand how you could commence with the construction.
So I would say that we're going into the design process. Part of the environmental assessment is we do need to hear back from the Ministry of Energy and Climate Change as well about what they'd like us to incorporate into the design. So that's why the design and the plan isn't fully complete at this point, because we actually do need to hear from the ministry to say, actually, we'd like you to consider this type of mitigation, we would like you to do that. There is time between the end and the approval of that environmental assessment, the design work that will continue with the city and the community, and when this will go into construction. So it's a fair point, and we will come back and report back on that matter. Thank you. Sir?
Question for Sam. Sam, you're familiar with these
the GO trains, you've been studying them on our behalf,
Yes.
and you mentioned that they're 88 decibels at 15 meters from locomotive.
Yeah, at a neutral throttle setting.
At a neutral throttle setting. How loud is the bell?
So there's two bells. There's a bell at the stations, and there's a warning horn.
A bell at the station. Bell at the station.
Yeah, so for a bell at the station, we didn't look at that in this project because there are no stations within the context. So.
Okay, now, hang on a second, because on your public realm plan, it says an area set aside for a Bloor station. 10 years from now, when you put a station at Bloor, and you have this massive level of trains coming in, which are required by federal law to ring the bell before they get to the station, what is it going to be like for these people listening to that bell? Because I'm a block away from the Bloor station on Ernest, and with my windows closed, that bell is driving me fucking insane.
This wasn't part of this environmental assessment. As I said earlier, there's two environmental assessments that will happen as well for this area. So one is the double tracking, which is current, and the station process and the station analysis has additional stages. So there's a business case analysis that goes with the new station, and there's also an environmental assessment, because you need to understand all of this in terms of air quality, noise, vibration, soil, archaeological impact of the site that you're looking at for the station as much as you do for the bridge. So that is a fair point and is coming. What I will say is bells and whistles network-wide are a concern when we're going to 180 trains. And though there is a federal regulation about when to ring bells and whistles, we're also working with our federal counterparts to see, because you can't get an exemption with the municipality for those, and we're also looking at standards about how bells and whistles are run going into a station. And so that is a definite point of concern, and it is something that we're trying to address on two fronts. One on the actual operational side, and the second.
But shouldn't it be part of this study?
So as I said earlier, because there's a number of studies happening at the same time to offer this type of service, and they all offer different expertise, the local impacts benefit from understanding that local expertise as well. So electrification, the station, double tracking, all of those deserve the same amount of scrutiny and conversation and study that an environmental assessment brings to it. So we're aware that it needs to be a comprehensive plan going into a build, but the studies themselves are happening concurrently.
Okay, I just want to point out that I read the sound study that was done for the UPX, and there was no mention in that study that Metrolinx sponsored and paid for. There was no mention of the bell ringing.
Okay.
And it is the loudest and most piercing sound from the UPX every 7.5 minutes until 1 in the morning. And there was no mention of it in any study. So it is a massive oversight not to have Sam there working on what would the bells be like on that train, because people are going to go nuts when they start ringing those bells if you build a station up Bloor, which is what you're proposing.
Okay, thank you for that. I do want to say we need to be out of the manager's meeting. We have 5 minutes. So I'm going to
all the questions.
That's true, but we do have to respect the permit that we have and the fact that people do want to pack up and go home. So I'm going to ask, could you please keep your comments brief? We will also have an opportunity to submit them formally to the record, and then I think that the councillor and the MVP wanted to say a quick word as well. So sir, thank you.
So I have, obviously, like everybody else here, tons of concerns with what you guys have done. I have some questions about the methodology in terms of how you measure air quality, how you measure sound throughout the day. So my understanding is that you're averaging decibel level throughout, whatever the operating periods of the day, not looking at the acute effects of the diesel trains while they're passing, because that experience is much different. You say that there's an 88 decibel level of a train operating in neutral. What's a train operating active? Because, you know, there's an incline, I understand that there's an incline going up to the top of the bridge that's gonna pass a lot of these people's homes. So, which will require the diesel to be, the engine to be running active. Can you answer that first, please?
Sorry, there's built both sides.
Yeah, you're right. So for all the northbound trains, they will be operating at a higher throttle setting to get up that incline. All the southbound trains will generally coast or operate at a lower throttle setting. So for the sound levels going northbound, they typically operate at a maximum throttle setting, which is about 6 dB higher.
Which is percentage-wise, how much higher is that than?
It's a
significant difference.
Yeah, it's something you would
like a lot. A lot.
Significant, yes.
My other main concern.
That was actually shown in like the slide and stuff like that.
Okay, but you didn't put the train on your graph. That's, I think, you wouldn't get so many questions if you actually marked it on your chart.
Yeah, we can add whatever we like to that graph.
Yeah. It would be good, since that's what everybody's asking about, it would have been smart. You know, looking at the underpass, so the one thing you guys have said you're going to do is create this wonderful green space, this bike path. So to not measure the volume under the bridge, I think is a very glaring oversight. I wonder how many other glaring oversights that haven't been presented to us yet. I'm wondering whether that's somewhere I would like to take my child for a bike ride. You know, if the volume level is at 60 dBs, you know, is that going to be safe for my child? Is that going to be, you know, is the air quality, even a 1% increase in, you know, you know, decrease in the air quality? If my child has asthma, is that something I'm going to be comfortable with living next to in this community? Are those questions that you guys have asked yourselves thus far in the assessment? Are those things you're ready to talk to parents who have children with asthma about? You know, those are the questions that I have, and I'd like to know how you guys will deal with this.
Okay, if I could, I would note that down and will respond, but I do want to try to fit in just a few other folks who have remaining questions. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question for Sam as well. You're the guy. So you mentioned something about average sound levels. I was wondering if, as part of the actual sound study, you'll be putting forward maximum decibel levels, because an average is all well and good, but I would like to know what's the maximum noise that can be expected both overnight and during the day.
Okay. There is no, like I said, policy framework or guideline for the maximum sound levels, so we probably wouldn't, because that doesn't have a bearing on the findings of the study.
I think the people in this room might disagree.
Okay, well, I mean, you can voice your concerns and you know, we'll take that into consideration, but it's not part of the framework that we work with to evaluate the maximum sound levels.
So would it be something that could be included as part of the next steps? Because I think that a lot of people are very concerned.
It's definitely something that can be done in like very detailed level. Like I said, there's no framework in place.
There's no framework for a bridge like this in a neighborhood. Sorry, Sam, you're getting hit a lot of times. But anyway, and then I just have one very brief comment, and then I'm done. So there's been a lot of talk of Metrolinx in the media, of course, a bit unfavorable. My concern in particular is one that dealt with some folks who live next to a former CN airline that became the Metrolinx rail line that runs from 5:30 a.m. to 1:30 in the morning, which is what's proposed for our rail line. And what they have found is that now they have nonstop maintenance overnight from 1:30 to 5:30 in the morning. So I'm wondering if there's a plan in place for rail maintenance, because now that you have that track also elevated, you have lights shining up there, you've got eyes and people, and all of that sounds also proposed for overnight. So I just want to know if there's a plan for that.
So I don't have that with me, because as I said, that's an operational plan of Go Transit, but I can definitely ask that question and provide that back. And I think just one last at the back here, and then we really do need, it's 9 o'clock and we've been asked to wrap it up. So just, thank you.
Thank you. My question is why Metrolinx is not committing to an international design competition. Talking about design excellence, you're taking all your design cues from the residence reference panel, which had this idea about trying to hide the bridge, soften the lines and all that. So that's why we're getting this stuff. But in some of the materials that were circulating during the winter, people saw the picture of the Lego bridge from Germany. You guys put it in some of your material that you were circulating. And that's an example of a bridge that is just saying, I'm here. They're out with the bridge, not trying to hide it. And this thing is so massive, why try? So my point is, if I'm asking, why won't Metrolinx just commit to a design competition and let's get 50 great ideas? Somewhere we're trying to hide it, somewhere we're trying to, out the bridge, as it were, and get ideas that people can feel really confident in.
I would say, just before I turn it over, I don't know if you want to say a quick word, and Marcus, but I would say that I don't have the authority to commit to that tonight, so what I will do is take that back and we'll follow up with you. Not me, and I'm sorry, because there is a financial implication to it, and I can't commit to that on the spot. Sorry, and I'll hand it over to MPP Marcus, I should have.
If I stand here, will everyone hear? Or you really want me to stand at the mic? Take the mic? Okay.
So I'm going to be very brief. I just want to first of all, to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy lives to be here tonight and to once again voice your concerns to Metrolinx so they can hear loud and clear the concerns that you've brought into my office since this project began. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to share all of those concerns. I want to thank Options for Davenport for also putting out today their EA study. I saw it late this afternoon, I have not yet had the chance to look at it. And I want to thank Metrolinx for being here as well to also listen to your concerns. And I just wanted to once again reassure the community that I'm here to work with you. I'm here to make sure that everything that was said here tonight, I've taken notes, my staff have taken notes, make sure that they get back to the appropriate authorities within the government, to both Minister Del Duca and to Minister Murray, to raise the concerns that you have here. It's, and I encourage you to continue inputting all of that onto the Metrolinx website, encourage you to continue contacting my office, but I will be speaking to them directly, eye to eye, expressing to them that there are still concerns, large concerns, huge concerns about this project coming through our community here. So I just wanted to assure you that I'm here for you and I'm here to continue to work with you as I have up until now. We are where we are because we have come together as a community to see the project evolve to what it is today. It's nowhere where we are happy with it just yet, but we're moving along. So just wanted to reassure you of that. And if there are any further questions or concerns, everyone knows how to get a hold of me, so thank you.
Will you recommend to the ministers that this be stopped until the community's questions are answered?
So the TPAP is underway.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that people can continue to input into the process. You have until which date?
No. I'm asking if you will talk to your ministers in your government and tell them this needs to stop now and we need to reconsider because you are
So thank you for that. And if you recall, I stood up and stood in front of the community here and asked the minister to delay the TPAP. And we tried to do that. I'm not saying that I'm not, I will ask, I will say that there are enough concerns in my community that they feel this should be stopped. So I will raise that with him and with both ministers actually, and be more than willing to come back to the community with what they would say on that.
Do you think it should be stopped? Because you said they think it should be stopped. Do you think this is bad for our community?
Your job depends on it.
So I think that there are valid questions here. I think that there are many valid questions, and I think that, that regardless of what project comes through here, there is a change. It's going to be, whether it's going to be a tunnel, a trench, a bridge, regardless of the project, it's going to bring huge change to the community. So regardless of Sure. There's still a lot of questions. So,
So we do need to wrap up. We will take questions. we're going to send an email in terms of all the questions that have been asked. If you signed up for it, we'll issue that to the full mailing list. We will be back for another meeting. We're starting the Community Advisory Committee. If you're interested in sitting on that, please let us know. And what I can also say to the Options for Davenport community report that was released today, that will be submitted as an official part of the environmental project report, and that will be going to and so we'll be able to see it in full as part of that report. Councillor Milo, just a quick.
First of all, I just want to thank all the groups that have been working on this and all the residents. It hasn't been easy. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I think I've been saying the same thing over and over again on this issue. And the thing is that we all understand that we need transit, and we do feel like we were robbed the opportunity to decide what would be the best option for this. There's no question about that. We've said that loud and clear. But I ask that you also take a copy of the letter that was also actually distributed. All the groups work together to come up on the issues that this TPAC is about, this bridge. And we need to make sure that the minister and this process understands the serious issues that there are here in front of us. There's noise, there's safety, and there's above all, I think, a lack of a comprehensive view and vision for this project. Don't talk to me about just getting the path and stopping at Bloor because this is just our project. This needs to be a city building exercise, and Metrolinx needs to be an agency that does city building. This is a project that needs, and in all respect, I know that you guys have worked so hard, and I know that you've poured your hearts. But this is a mentality shift, a cultural shift that needs to happen at Metrolinx. This needs to you need much more than those weeds or whatever that you call that under there. You need public realm, you need activity, you need community building, and you're only going to get there when you have this community beside you. And that's what I'm going to continue trying to do. But you're going to have a change in culture of Metrolinx. We need these issues addressed through this TPAC, and we're not going to allow this TPAC to go through if not every single of these issues are addressed during the process.
I'm here on behalf of your Member of Parliament, Lee Zarowitz. Unfortunately, she was at a commitment in Ottawa and she couldn't make it, but I'm here on her behalf, taking notes, making note of all the comments you guys have been saying. And on her behalf, she just wanted to say that she has read the letter that the community put out yesterday, and she has written an open letter of support for everything that was in that letter. That letter is available to anyone who wants to read it. I'll be here after. I can give you my card. You can send me an email. I can send that to you. And just moving forward in the decision making, Julie is a strong advocate of maintaining an open and transparent decision making, making sure that we are in partnership with the community. If you have any questions for Julie or anything like that, you can do it to me. I'll have my business card to come say hello. My name is Erica.
And thanks everyone for coming out tonight, and please submit any questions that you have that we haven't answered, and we'll be sending out the full copy of this. Thank you.